Hello and welcome to another EG Recap. I'm Jack Lindsay, and today's episode is dedicated to our newest news writer, Mr. Payne. No, I'm serious, that's his real name. Mr. Kyle Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. We might be distant cousins because my grandmother's grandmother was a Payne, full-blooded Cherokee. In any case, Mr. Payne is the latest to join the news writing team in Exclusively Games, and through him I've been able to transition into more of a back-end role, focusing on curating and editing more so than writing, and these recaps of course, among which you will now see his articles from time to time. So thank you, Mr. Payne. And also I've got 4 stories for you today. Up first, Cuphead hits #1 on the Jazz Billboard Charts. Then we've got the launch of Daymare 1998. Minecraft wants you to rock the Biome vote. And Rockstar launches a launcher. Let's get on with the news, shall we? Our first story from Mr. Krasny. Cuphead hits #1 on the Jazz Billboard Charts. In a moment of video game history, Studio MDHR's Cuphead has topped the charts. This past week, the newly released 2LP vinyl album has hit #1 on the Jazz Billboard chart, becoming the first video game soundtrack to ever hit #1 there. This momentous achievement is lovely to see, but far from surprising. Christopher Madigan's work on Cuphead was a careful process. In an interview with Bandcamp, Madigan said, "I didn't want this to be a 21st century composer writing 1930s era music for a 1980s/90s style video game. I really wanted to approach this like I was a composer from some other parallel universe, where the Jazz Age was happening simultaneously with the Golden Age of video games. Kinda like, what would video game music sound like if Duke Ellington or Benny Goodman were writing for the medium and not for the concert stage? That is freaking cool." The soundtrack's leap up to #1 was not without strife. Many fans of jazz believe that while the game's music is incredibly well done, it also shows the disparity within jazz as a genre. What does that even mean? This push to #1 knocked off the album Love by Michael Bublé, which sat at #1 for 37 weeks prior. Now, in the article I'm reading from, which is linked below, I've got an affiliate link where you can actually purchase that Michael Bublé link, if you're into jazz, if you're curious about such things. If it takes a video game OST to push Michael Bublé off the chart, that's what it takes. Maybe this is just what jazz needed to shake everything up and break stagnation. Yeah, speaking of that, wasn't that kind of the story of jazz's inception? Like, if people are complaining about a disparity within jazz as a genre, if I recall my history, jazz was about mixing up musical conventions. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. Our next article by Mr. Payne. Daymare 1998 has released with new trailer. Daymare 1998 is finally launched on PC, and with it comes a new trailer. The game comes from developer Invader Studios and is their take on the survival horror genre that's similar to classic 90s Resident Evil games. It's coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One sometime in 2020. Daymare 1998 started out as a fan remake of Resident Evil 2 back in 2015, before being stopped by Capcom. Instead of scrapping the project, the developers repurposed their goals and decided to craft their own take on survival horror games. That's pretty clever. From everything shown, it's easy to see that they know what they're doing. Highlights of the game include multi-character point of view, see the story from different angles and discover the truth, dreadful enemies rendered in detail with lifelike animations and dismemberment, realistic HUD in which you can check inventory, health, and position on a special piece of gear, environmental puzzles, where finding your way is not always easy and you must look for clues, class mechanics, limited ammo and save points, backtracking, collectibles, modern graphics and effects, thanks to Unreal 4, and homage paid to the 90s with tons of references. Zombies and monsters are unique from other games, with the developers adding small extra dangers to make the game harder. One example of this is having zombies able to spew a green acid-like substance at the player when they grab them. With the old-school gameplay style and a bigger emphasis on trying to survive, Daymare 1998 looks like the experience gamers will want if they were disappointed in Capcom's recent announcement of Project Resistance, which I happened to cover in our last recap. Mr. Payne can't wait to get a chance to play the game. He says it looks fantastic and could be the start of another great survival horror franchise. To stay up to date with Daymare 1998, be sure to follow the developers on Twitter, Facebook, and their official site, links to each of which are all included in the article below. If you'd like to get a copy of the game, it's currently 10% off on Steam until September 24th. You see? EG's giving you guys the hookup. Our next story by good old Mr. Irwin. Minecraft wants you to rock the Biome vote. Minecraft has a lot to celebrate this year, having passed its 10th anniversary and recently revealing that it amasses over 112 million players a month. That was in our last recap too. There's also been a number of small and large updates this year, including the large Village and Pillage update that released back in April. Now with Minecon 2019 right around the corner. What? Minecon? I did not know that was a thing. Now with Minecon 2019 right around the corner, Mojang is reaching out to the fans, and they want their voices to be heard. 3 biomes in the game are on track to receive updates in the coming months, but they want the players to help decide which one they start with. The lineup of choices include the swamps, badlands, and mountains. 3 biomes that have been updated before, but in a much smaller capacity in comparison to the variety of other biomes that generate throughout the game. Voting will begin during Minecon Live on September 28th, a special 90-minute tie-in to Minecon itself. Details on what are planned for the biome updates are scarce at the moment, but are expected to begin releasing in the coming days leading up to the Minecon Live. Updates for these biomes in particular have been a large fan demand for quite some time. While the game has been consistently adding new content to experience, environmental updates for some biomes took a back seat, leading fans to think that the developers considered them good enough to wait for a while. It looks like that long wait is about to be over. If you're a Minecraft player, what are you hoping to see out of these biome updates? For Mr. Irwin, he wants to see mountains become even larger with more massive cave networks through them. You know, I've never played Minecraft, but I watched a lot of PewDiePie's Let's Plays. I think the Nether is really cool. And again, it did already seem more fleshed out than the other biomes. Maybe I ought to give this game a try one day, if I ever get to play games again. I know you guys keep telling me I need to. I want to, believe me, I want to. But between the editing and the posting and the recaps, and I'm actually a writer for an indie dev studio. I think I've mentioned that. I do story and character design and stuff like that. I'll reveal all those secrets one day down the road. But as soon as I have the time, I promise. In our last story, also by Mr. Irwin, Rockstar launches a launcher. It's been almost a year since the launch of Red Dead Redemption 2, and only days since a Red Dead Redemption fan's attempt at making a remaster of the first RDR became dust in the wind. Hints here and there have given PC players hope that they may finally get to experience the Wild West on their platform of choice instead of one of the console versions. It's another game I'd like to play, if it came to PC. Rockstar has heard you loud and clear, and they're ready to give the people what they want. That's right, a brand new and entirely separate game launcher for their titles. Wait, what? That's right. Of all the things fans have been asking of Rockstar to bring to PC, they instead got another separate game launcher. The latest in a long line of digital retail outlets with launchers behind them, Steam, GOG, Origin, Epic Games Store, and more, the Rockstar Games launcher quietly hopped into the trend, and to sweeten the pot in an attempt to get people to use it, they're including the classic Grand Theft Auto San Andreas for a limited time. 3 games are hard to turn down, but in 2019, is there anyone left who doesn't own San Andreas in one form or another? It may be the hot trend for companies to push for their own dedicated launchers, but in the case of Rockstar, it's a bit odd, as their current PC lineup consists of games several years old, with their most recent PC release being Grand Theft Auto 5. Why push a launcher now? Maybe there's some more news waiting in the future, the announcement of a new game, or maybe the PC players who just want to play as Outlaws will finally get their wish. Although, based on Rockstar's long denial of the Red Dead Redemption games to PC, that hope seems fleeting. It seems individual launchers are a trend that won't be stopping anytime soon, despite the massive successes and conveniences of the major launchers that combine multiple games from different companies into one place. How do you feel about the growing trend of launcher saturation? Asks Mr. Irwin. Well, I can't really say, because you can't swear on YouTube. Just stop. It's tedious. It's tedious as hell. Is hell a bad word for YouTube? Part of what makes PCs great, what makes them so appealing as a gaming platform, is that every game for them just runs on them. You know what I mean? The technology is such that there shouldn't be exclusives. There shouldn't be that limitation, so that you think, oh, I really want to check that game out, but I have to buy a whole new system for it. But now they're artificially injecting that limitation into the PC, whether through exclusive deals like in the Epic Store case, or just through pure tedium. Like, okay, I've got to download yet another program and have it running if I want to launch this game. And it can't launch all my games because then I have to have a separate program that runs that. It's adding a middleman into the equation. Now, this might seem totally irrelevant or a niggle for console players, but I promise you, it starts to get tedious, especially when you've got a million different windows and tabs and programs running, and you like to keep your desktop and you like to keep everything efficient and clean, and you don't want more programs. And each of these programs is always trying to sell you something and this special new thing, and it's like, can I just play games? Can I just download games and play them on a platform free of this BS? Please? I remember when you used to just buy discs, put them in your CD-ROM, and play the game. But anyway, that about does it for this EG recap. Drop some likes on me, and subscribes, and shares, and comments, and I'll keep sending you the news. Does that sound like a good deal? Yes, it does. Until next time. Oh no, wait, no, not until next time yet. Because on last episode, I mentioned we're getting so much more news, because we got more news writers now. I can't cover it all. There's no way. So let's go over today's news that I didn't get to put in the recap to entice you to head on over to the site. We've got Game Freak reveals Sirfetch'd, a Pokemon Sword exclusive. Ghostbusters the video game remastered gets a new trailer. Session is available to purchase in early access. Google Stadia Founders Edition is to be replaced. Crossplay details for Modern Warfare. Experience the original Half-Life with a friend today. E3 2020 is set to shift away from previous setups to include experience booths and focus on influencers. And Death Stranding might get sequels to flesh out the new Strand genre. All that and more awaits you at the glorious website. And now, until next time.